Staying strong and healthy during the season isn't just about hitting the gym, it's about training smart. If you're looking to dominate the court through the whole season, these 5 principles will keep you performing at your peak. My name is Rok, aka Coach Rock, and welcome to my Baller YouTube channel. Today, I'll share with you 5 golden rules of in-season strength training that keeps players strong, explosive, injury-free, without burning out. If you like the topics that I'm covering, consider subscribing or send this video to a friend that needs to hear this. Appreciate you all. Now, let's get to work. So starting off with principle number 1, train all movement patterns twice a week. So as you probably already know, basketball demands strength in every movement and plane of motion. So we do a lot of sprinting, jumping, pivoting, shuffling, and neglecting strength training in any movement pattern or plane of motion will create weakness that causes increased risk of injury. Sticking to this simple but important rule will cover 80% of your strength problems. So let's quickly mention the basic movement patterns we know. We know knee dominant movements, which will be your squat, split squat, or lunges. We know hip dominant movements, which would be deadlift or hamstring curl, so anything for the posterior chain. Then we got our pushes, vertical and horizontal, plus pulls, vertical and horizontal. And 5th category would be your core rotation movements. So we all know importance of strength, but how to actually apply it in your busy team schedule. I'll cover 2 options today that you could do. So if you have one game on the weekend, what you can do is you can schedule 2 strength sessions, one stronger strength session earlier in the week, and one power velocity session. I call that pre-game lift, day or 2 days before the game day. So let me show you a quick example of how I did this with my professional team in the past month. So for the stronger strength session earlier in the week, usually this would mean 3 to 4 sets at around 5 to 8 rep range. This would mean 80% of your 1 RM intensity. So what I did, I covered in 3 blocks. We got our lower body block session. We have dumbbell back lunges. I combine this with band assisted split squat jumps. So same movement pattern here. And then for the 3rd one, I have single leg hamstring curl for the post chain. After this block, we have our superset with dumbbell incline bench press and single arm cable or machine row. This will cover horizontal push and pull movements. And then we finish off with the C block, which is our core, hanging knee raises, Copenhagen plank, and plate sit-ups. So this is decent amount of volume here and a pretty intense session. So that's earlier in the week, and then at the later part of the week, we'll have our power velocity session where we focus more on the powerful concentric action or quick transition from eccentric to concentric actions. Not so much focusing on strength, but more on the speed side of things. So what we did in this session is actually focus warming up with the core block. So we got our wall press dead bugs, good mornings, and kettlebell halo. Then we move on to trap bar high pulls and dumbbell lateral punch jumps. So we'll do this in superset, again focusing on speed side of things. And then for the B block, we got our single arm shoulder push press, combining that with lat pull down. Nothing too fancy here, just some stimulus for the upper. So this is not the only option here. What you could do is microdose this, so split this into 3 to 5 smaller blocks and use it before or after your team practices during the week. So you could do this as a 20-minute minor lift session before or after practice. In that way, you're basically strength training every day or every other day. Of course, we got some other options too, but let's move on to principle number 2. Fill the buckets that aren't filled. No, I'm not talking about basketball buckets here. Imagine your physical qualities in terms of buckets. So we got our strength bucket here, then we got our full range of motion mobility bucket here, conditioning bucket here, also recovery bucket here. The goal here is, as a strength coach, to identify what's missing in their physical development. Usually, basketball players will practice, so in team practice, will cover a lot of physical qualities already on the court. So if you practice every day, you get your conditioning, agility, plyos, also speed. You get that from basketball court. As a strength coach, you gotta add qualities that are not covered on the court. We covered that, so we covered the strength bucket already in the previous principle, but then just making sure the players get enough recovery, the players do enough mobility, and all the other stuff. A quick tip how to identify this is, what I like to do is write down your team schedule, your team's weekly schedule on a piece of paper, on Excel spreadsheet, and that helps you visualize better what is missing, or maybe what are you doing too much of. So my team's week looks like this. We got 5 team practices. We got 2 weight room sessions plus 2 morning shoot-arounds. We got 1 game on the weekend, and usually after the game, the guys get their day off. So in that week, we cover 5 times conditioning, agility, plyos with basketball practices. We cover strength 2 times. Mobility we do mostly daily. Then we got our day of recovery. Now, for the young players or players that don't play as much, we sprinkle in some plyo, agility, or speed work during the week. But note that here it is really important to sprinkle that movements in, not to do too much of these things. Are we rocking with this shirt? Let me know in the comments. Let's move to principle number 3. Load management and periodization is the key to consistent performance. Now, load management is a popular term lately. Training hard is great and all, but in-season training is also about training smart. Overloading players mid-season can lead to fatigue, burnout, or overuse injuries, which obviously we want to avoid. So what we do here is basically alternate heavy and light days to allow recovery, which means if we have intense team practice one day, that means the next day will usually be a little bit a little bit lighter intensity, non-contact, to allow recovery. That also means on the game heavy weeks, we will use shorter, lower intensity sessions to even that out, but also overload players on the national team breaks where they have time to actually work on their game and improve. So load management doesn't necessarily mean just canceling practices or resting players, but also means that undertraining or babying players, on the other hand, can make them weak over time, which leads to suboptimal performance and injuries. The key here is to find the right balance, so we don't want the players on one side overtraining and getting hurt, but on the other hand, we don't want them just rest and doing nothing, which also can lead to injuries. The amount of practices depend on your players. So if you have high school team, you're going to train differently than if you have college or professional team, and so on. So yeah, notice that load management isn't just about reducing effort, but it's about maximizing performance. So with periodization, the important thing is to know your calendar and what do you want to do in each cycle of the basketball season. For example, in the off season, you want first to focus a little bit on mental rest, to give your players break, and then start building strength and attack the weak spots. Come preseason time, we will shift to explosive movements and conditioning. And then in season, we're going to prioritize maintenance with lower volume, but we will keep the intensity relatively high. So your role as a strength coach here would be to sit down with your head coach or coaching staff and align your strength training goals with their basketball goals, so you guys are on the same page. Communication is key here. Let's move on to principle number 4. We got our pre-practice routines that target weak spots. Pre-practice routines are short routines combined of mobility, core, or balance exercises that attempt to prevent overuse injuries. They target each player's specific needs with consistently building them. That means we don't want too big of a volume here, usually 2 to 3 exercises, 1 to 2 sets before practice. This will include prehab exercises, so your core work, your balance work, barefoot drills even. They will include full range stretches or weighted mobility, for example, Jefferson curl. And you could also incorporate light skill work or drills that address deficiencies, which means you could also do some basketball technique skill work, so your ball handling drills, your change of direction movements, whatever you think is necessary or player need to work on. So my team example here is we kind of formed our own breakfast club here, which means players come in 15 minutes before team practice. I set up some nice music. I set up their mats, foam rollers. They're already there. Then while they're doing their exercises, we chat a little bit. We have debates. We talk basketball. So it doesn't have to be all formal and strict there. Make sure the players have fun. And while they're working on their things they need to work on. All right, we come to our final principle, number 5, which is monotony is the killer of competitive spirit. What I mean by that is doing same thing over and over again is necessary to become a professional, to become a good in the task you want to be good at. But over a long period of time, that also kills motivation. You want your players to stay engaged, be mentally and physically ready to bring the best to you, not just in every game, but also every practice. But how to actually keep things fresh and keep players motivated when they do one drill already hundreds and hundreds of times. You can rotate your exercises to keep things fresh. So you can use different variations. You can also use different tempos or use different equipment to keep the exercise, the same exercise, fresh. You can incorporate fun challenges or competitions in the weight room. What I do with my guys for the warm-ups is just some simple partner drills, med ball drills. Last time we did some sparring, so like just some shadow boxing. It's a fun way to get the guys warmed up and not to repeat your warm-ups every single time. So make sure you use your use your creativity here. I feel like most of the basketball players are, or most of the professional athletes are kids at heart. So this shouldn't be too tough, but you gotta have to use your imagination a little bit. So to finish things off, to keep your players strong and healthy in season, remember these 5 principles. Train all movement patterns twice a week, fill the buckets that are not filled, master load management and periodization, build pre-practice routines to address specific needs, and make sure to keep things fresh to avoid monotony. Let me know, you guys, did I nail these principles? Did I miss something? If this video helped you, hit that like button, subscribe, and see you in the next one.